So we got a bit of a different one this time around. It's breakfast burritos. This one kind of came about. We found out you can make these and then freeze them, and they reheat like perfectly, even in a microwave. So if you ever want to try it, I would highly recommend it. So starting us off, we've got our tortillas here. We did Mission and then Great Value. They're about $1.50 difference, and it was kind of weird. The Mission ones, with you can tell kind of with my arbitrary flop test here, they're a little bit stiffer and they're kind of like papery. I really don't like the taste of these tortillas. Maybe it's a personal preference, but I gotta say the Great Value ones kind of won the contest here. I would go for those. They taste more like an authentic burrito kind of wrap type of deal. Next up is the butters, and we have the Great Value versus the Breakstones. The name brand here was a bit better. Even if we just tasted it by itself, I preferred it over the Great Value, and the Great Value butter, it tries, you know, it tries. And next is the hash browns, and we did frozen versus the fresh ones to see which one tasted better. They're frozen potatoes, you know, they're raw, they don't taste good, so we kind of had to cook them up before there was any difference, really, honestly. Next is the eggs, and these, they're kind of always the same. Every time we make these, the organic, cage-free, everything you can think of eggs, they end up just being a little more golden, and that's really the only difference. Next is our cheeses, and this one, if you look at the little food processor right there, you'll notice that I left the blender thing in the bottom, so the poor Great Value cheese just got double shredded, so it looks terrible compared to the name brand stuff. But in reality, their only difference was I was done with the food processor. Taste-wise though is another story. The Kraft tasted a lot better. I never really thought this. I've always gone for the Great Value cheese thinking it was basically the same thing, but I'm definitely wrong. The Kraft tastes better. It felt like the Great Value stuff was like extra mild, where the Kraft was just regular mild, so it was better. Next is the bacon. We went for thick cut here because thick cut bacon is the best. The only difference is the color here. We ended up smoking it instead of doing it like in a pan or anything, because it just heats up the house and splatters grease everywhere. So this is what it looked like after it had been smoking for like about an hour, and I kind of just par cook the bacon on the smoker, and that way it kind of gets rid of some of the grease, and then you can chop it up and cook it again when you're ready to eat it, and it allows it to not be like overly cooked every time you reheat it. So turns out really good. And then next is we're going to start frying these hash browns, and so I put some butter in the pan and then just fried them up one at a time at different times, and they turned out fine. Not really much of a difference, to be honest. And here's the eggs. You can really tell that the first ones are a little more golden than the second ones. If you can't tell it by the raw eggs from the cooked eggs here in just a second when they're in a bowl, it really does look quite a bit different. Again, taste wise though, you know, there's really just not much of a difference. I gotta say that it's probably, if you have any qualms with how eggs are produced normally versus the cage-free ones, I think that should be your buying decision. The taste isn't much different. Even when we cooked eggs inside of things, like we use it for yellow cake or for brownies, I really couldn't tell a difference. So I honestly don't think the money's worth it here. Hash browns, you can see as well, they turned out fine, not too much of a difference, and taste-wise, they were basically identical. And then here's me touching on the ingredients just to ruin them all, so no one else can eat it because I'm like that and a little bit disgusting. I gotta fondle my cheese just a little bit more. Making these burritos, I'm just gonna apologize right now. I don't do a great job with making them. I've never made burritos or like been a line cook or anything like that, so this is my first attempt. Everything goes all right until I try to fold it. Even after like kind of knowing what I'm supposed to do, this one just like didn't fold right. My second try though with the Great Value one turned out quite a bit better. I hopefully redeemed myself a little bit. Putting them together, the only difference I noticed was the actual tortilla itself was a little stiffer from the Mission one. The Great Value one is a little bit softer, more pliable, and it feels like you can kind of fold it up a bit more without worrying too much about it tearing or anything. And it also sealed better. So after I folded these up, we just threw them onto a skillet for a second and sealed them together, and the Great Value ones sealed better. I'd really recommend sealing them up like this too if you plan on freezing them. It makes them hold together, and if you don't do it, they end up kind of just exploding on you. So it really is helpful, looks cool, and it makes them taste better in my opinion. Here is what they look like after they've been cooked. Cut them diagonally because diagonal cuts are cool. And here's the cross section of one burrito, and it looks like a breakfast burrito, and here's the cross section of the other burrito, and it looks like a breakfast burrito. Compare the two, they look the same. Taste wise though, there was a big difference here, and it's all about the texture. It's the tortilla. The Great Value tortilla was a lot better. And so to answer that question of is it better, I would say no. In this case, the name brand stuff really isn't much better at all. I would maybe go for the name brand cheese, but that's just about it. Everything else you could probably get away with getting the bottom shelf stuff, and no one would be the wiser from it. Thanks for watching. If you like what we're doing, let us know. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.